The man seems to have more than 100 sisters, but none of them want to get close to him. They even despise him and forbid him from entering their homes, because in the Crimson Cockroach tribe, everyone is red. He, on the other hand, is a strange black, a rarity that is repulsive to his own relatives. Only his mother, also a cockroach, never abandons him. Without her, he probably wouldn't have survived his first molt. Banbo's home planet was in a distant galaxy where a semi-automated civilization prevailed. His ship was caught in space-time turbulence, and when he woke up, he found himself transformed into a cockroach in this primitive world. What should he do now? Standing on a leaf atop a tree, Banbo reflects deeply. Looking at his fragile body, he knows he still has a long way to go to reach the subadult stage. Most of his siblings from the same batch have already reached the 7th instar stage, while he has only gone through 3 molts and remains in the weak 4th instar. He suspects that his delay is due to his human intelligence overloading his brain, consuming all the nutrients needed to grow and molt. According to cockroach genetic memory, he must complete at least 9 molts before winter, or he won't be able to resist the cold that is coming. He takes a fallen leaf, which, although not a complete meal, can stimulate his development. The only advantage of being a cockroach is that you don't die easily. Even with amputated limbs, they can regenerate them during the next molt. But Banbo discovers that his limb regeneration capability is instantaneous, as he has already broken his legs 5 times without issue. At nightfall, the cockroaches around him begin to look for food. There are tens of thousands of them in the area, facing the same problem: high energy expenditure and little protein. With very low intelligence, they only follow their genetic memory, dragging themselves in search of insect remains that they almost never find. But Banbo does not waste his efforts in this way. He burns his energy strategically, seeking elevated places to plan a flight. Cockroaches have membranous wings, but most do not know how to fly or simply cannot. Banbo plans to train himself to master flight, despite the fact that his broken legs in the past were the result of failed attempts. Limb regeneration consumes a large amount of energy, so he perseveres, hoping to answer a question. Can cockroaches fly and become warriors, like humans? His genetic memory, acquired in the 3rd molt, reveals his exact species. He belonged to the Crimson Cockroach clan, a branch of the Fire Sky Cockroach people. That clan had crimson-colored cockroach warriors who dominated the entire jungle. But Banbo wonders whether cockroach warriors are born strong or must strive in their evolution. After returning from their search, he goes back to his burrow and chooses a thick leaf to chew on. With so many members in his clan, there is never enough meat outside. Now he can only fill his belly with leaves. Suddenly, 2 antennas emerge through the narrow entrance, wriggling and releasing pheromones. They are searching for food. Short, scattered messages filled with enthusiasm are transmitted. Banbo is pleased, drops the leaf, and hurriedly runs away from the place. Waiting at the entrance is a long-bodied cockroach holding a piece of meat torn from somewhere with its 2 front legs, displaying it as if it were a treasure. The coloration of his mother has already faded. Her body is beginning to age. Her existence is nearing its end. Cockroaches reproduce in 2 ways: parthenogenesis and sexual reproduction, although only the latter offers a small chance for males to appear. Most nearby cockroaches are her daughters, and Banbo is her only son. In the aesthetic of the red cockroach tribe, red symbolizes beauty, but Banbo is an exception. After his first molt, his shell turned dark brown, making him an anomaly that most consider ugly. His sisters hate him and avoid his company. Only his mother never abandons him, caring for him with devotion. About a month ago, his mother brought 2 bundles of meat at midnight to help him complete his 3rd molt earlier than usual. Banbo chews contentedly and thinks, what kind of large creature produces such thick muscular fibers? Where did they come from? The first time he attributed it to luck, a chance encounter, but what about now? Gently, his mother caresses Banbo with her antennas, transmitting happiness. She turns and quickly departs. Banbo has a sudden idea and urgently waves his antennas. Let's wait together, he thinks. The mother stops, looks back, and, confused, waves her antennas in doubt. Bambo insists, calling for them to go together. The mother perceives his signal and, after a moment's thought, finally agrees to accompany him. For such tiny cockroaches, it is a long journey. They stop several times to feed on decomposing leaves to recharge their energy, and continue all night until they reach the sunny part of the mountain. Bambo feels drawn to the bushes ahead, where there seem to be raspberries covered with red fruit. He recognizes the plants. They are strength plants like the ones he knows. Near the bushes, a huge cockroach with a shiny crimson body moves slowly, cutting a section from a halaton snake carcass, peeling the skin, and tossing it aside. Immediately, other cockroaches come rushing to fight over the remains. He is the warrior of the red cockroach tribe, mentioned in genetic memory. Their warriors master the active use of the force to achieve genetic evolution, or perhaps that is simply their racial potential. Bambo fixes his gaze, astonished. The mother approaches an even larger skeleton nearby. Bambo regains his attention and observes carefully. The incomplete structure of a giant being looks like a small mountain, surrounded by cockroaches fighting over food. Bambo looks at the crimson warrior and, after taking a few bites of the meat he holds, calmly discards it, provoking the fury of the cockroaches waiting around him. Around the crimson warrior, the earth is bare, only dotted with small planted shrubs, all force plants. In areas rich in force, common plants have a minimal chance of undergoing genetic mutations that turn them into force plants, which cannot reproduce. Each of these represents a unique existence in the universe, the highest form of carbon-based plant life. Human technology cannot alter the probability of mutation nor generate new force plants. Bambo does not believe that cockroaches from a primitive planet can do what humans are incapable of achieving. What truly intrigues him is where all these force plants come from. Is there a high probability on this planet that they can generate themselves? To find out, he will need to cultivate and activate more genetic memories. Based on its size, Bambo estimates that the Crimson Warrior is about 1 meter tall on the third planet of the solar system, which would frighten many young ones. He wonders about the size and combat strength of other warriors from his clan. The ability to cultivate force plants and actively absorb energy for genetic evolution opens up a universe of possibilities. There is surely a presence of extraordinarily powerful beings. Lost in his thoughts, Bambo can only nibble at the rotten leaves on the ground, as he still lacks the strength to compete for the meat. His mother manages to snatch a thread of meat from him and, excited, rushes toward him, caressing his head with her antennas as a sign of joy. Chewing, eating quickly, she signals to him. At that moment, Bambo yearns to grow, eager to leave the larval stage as soon as possible. Only subadults have a chance to survive the upcoming winter. Subadults are larvae that have reached the adult stage. The next step is to become a crimson cockroach warrior, absorbing force to achieve genetic evolution. Bambo does not hesitate, grabs the meat and begins to eat urgently, needing nourishment to replenish his strength. Seeing this, his mother again caresses his antennas happily and fights once more to get more food. Suddenly, a force fruit emits an orange glow, a sign of ripeness. The crimson warrior carefully cuts the fruit with his sharp front legs and, cautiously, consumes it. Instantly, his body begins to tremble. His membranous wings flutter gently with a touch of joy, and his antenna moves enthusiastically. Judging by his reaction, it is clear that this is his first time trying a strength fruit. When Bambo was human, he once ate a strength fruit. He knows its benefits but also its dangers. These fruits are extremely effective for gene transformation, but during genetic evolution, many cells in the body die, requiring energy and nutrients to repair damage and support cell division. The Crimson Warrior seems aware of these risks. After each fruit, he chews it in 2 parts, consuming it in 2 doses to reduce the danger. His mother quickly snatches another piece of meat from him and hurriedly begins to eat, urging him to do so quickly. In this primitive society, physical strength is the only means of survival. With so many cockroaches around the carcass, obtaining food becomes exceedingly difficult. By dawn, her mother has made only 5 trips in search of food, managing to bring back some meat for Bambo during that time. After biting 5 meat filaments of different sizes, Bambo finally feels that numbness, the unmistakable sign of an impending molt. At that moment, the Crimson Warrior has devoured almost all of the ripe raspberry fruit, with only a small remainder left. However, after a brief hesitation, he pushes the fruit away with his leg. Several adult cockroaches waiting nearby react immediately, desperately lunging to fight over it, even biting each other in the struggle. Bambo knows that it's not that simple. The Crimson Warrior might be conducting an experiment. He perceives in the energy of the fruit the ability to promote genetic evolution and wishes to see if strength fruits can help ordinary cockroaches surpass their limits and transform into beings similar to him. The answer comes within seconds. The cockroach that bit into the raspberry reaches half of its consumption when its 6 legs weaken and it collapses. But the limited intelligence of these creatures is not enough to grasp the magnitude of the situation. They continue to frantically fight over the fruit, and whoever manages to eat it also dies. Over time, the observing cockroaches confirm the deaths of both, and without hesitation, they pounce to devour the bodies. However, the energy of the fruit proves too potent. An entire group of cockroaches collapses convulsing, agonizing in their last breaths. The mother, standing beside Bambo, sees the cluster of bodies and instinctively feels the urge to feed herself. Bambo, terrified, rapidly stops her. Only then, with amazement, does she realize that her mother has been missing a hind leg at some point. She does not possess the ability to instantly regenerate limbs. She is already an adult in her 19th instar, and cannot regrow a limb after molting. Moreover, due to her advanced age, her survival during this winter was already uncertain, and this wound only worsened her prospects. Bambo feels guilt and distress, frantically waving his antennas in concern. The mother offers a reassuring gesture, moving her antennas and saying, "I'm fine, eat." Still, her eyes remain fixed on the cockroaches on the ground, greedy, aware that flesh will speed up her son's growth. It is maternal love in its purest and most primitive form, without complications or embellishments. Suddenly, the mother alarms, signaling an imminent danger. Bambo perceives a disturbance behind him. The Crimson Warrior near the raspberry bushes takes flight, scaring away the surrounding cockroaches. Nervously, the mother pulls Bambo backward, attempting to put some distance between them. The warrior quickly digs a huge hole, buries all the cockroaches, and covers them with a large stone. The experiment has failed. He has no intention of continuing to investigate and remains indifferent to the death of so many clan members. As dawn breaks, the mother reminds him that he must hide in his burrow during the day to avoid being caught by birds. Bambo still worries about his mother's wound, because even in the humblest creatures, genuine emotions beat within. What would a human heart be like if a simple insect can feel something like this? Determined to make one last attempt, Bambo begins to push his mother toward the slab covering the remnants of the experiments, and starts digging vigorously. The mother, believing Bambo is trying to unearth the cockroaches, chirps happily, joining him in the digging. But Bambo is not digging to remove the bodies. His intention is different. Bambo merely seeks to dig a refuge to turn into his new home, as he plans to live there long term. Communicating with his mother is truly exhausting for him. He must repeat each message about 10 times before she understands and acts accordingly. However, seeing that his mother finally wants to rest, Bambo asks her if she is hungry. She immediately replies that she is not hungry and feels happy. Just being with her son seems to fill her with joy. Without wasting time, Bambo runs out of the shelter, searches nearby, tears off a piece of decomposing leaf, and quickly returns with it held in his mandibles. After being busy for half a day and repeatedly warning his mother not to dig among the lice in the ground, Bambo finally sinks into a peaceful sleep. During his rest, a chaotic avalanche of genetic knowledge floods his memory. Inside him are all kinds of edible foods and 18 moldings, as well as survival skills for the jungle encoded in his racial DNA. With each molt and growth, these knowledge patterns are reinforced in his system, repeating the process as he sleeps. The molt lasts an entire day. When he wakes up, he notices that his refuge is covered with a thick layer of decomposing leaves, probably brought by his mother while he was sleeping. However, she is nowhere to be found. Not only does he have Bambo as an unraised offspring, but he also cares for about 100 larvae. His tiny view today is completely helpless. The limited pheromone language used by his species to communicate prevents him from explaining the effects of strength fruits. Even if he could, his mother wouldn't understand. Bambo eats a small piece of leaf and begins chewing his molted shell. Observing a crimson warrior devouring raspberries, he deduces that these strength fruits enhance cell vitality, functioning as an extension of life at the genetic level. Normal beetles cannot ingest these strength fruits directly. Even a small amount would be lethal because they cannot withstand the cellular transformation they cause. However, when the fruits ripen without special preservation, their strength gradually dissipates. Dead beetles must have already diluted the fruit's compounds. Bambo chose this place because the dispersed energy creates a weak radiation field that allows him to modify his DNA gently. This level of modification is tolerable for common rocks and could slightly reverse his mother's aging, helping her survive the winter. Unfortunately, his mother does not understand Bambo's intentions and, guided by instinct, returns to the mountain, where she gathers her daughters. The effectiveness of this intervention will last approximately a day. Should he bring her back? Bambo leaves the refuge to observe the outside environment. The Crimson Warrior has caught another snake and seems to enjoy eating them very much. Tens of thousands of adult beetles form a circle around him. Whenever snake skins or remains with pieces of meat are thrown to them, they rush to devour them in a voracious feeding frenzy. Bambo senses that the warrior consciously helps the weaker ones by throwing more meat in the hope that other warriors like him will emerge from the colony. Dawn comes quickly, just as Bambo prepares to look for his mother. She appears alone, returning from her hiding place. Bambo urges his mother to eat and rest in the refuge, aware of the scarcity of snake meat. His mother, with decreased self-esteem, knew she couldn't compete with the younger ones. After a brief rest, she started eating some leaves, but her restlessness led her to begin digging the ground. She hadn't forgotten the more than 20 cockroaches buried underneath. Bambo stopped her several times, using danger pheromones to halt her. The mother waved her antennas, confused, and Bambo began to worry. Eventually, she gave up digging and prepared to leave, but Bambo blocked her path, insisting that she stay. The mother, again puzzled, fidgeted, but after a moment of stress, she agreed to rest in the shelter. Bambo feared she might go out to find more snake meat, and if she got hurt again, no one would be there to joe her. That's why he simply blocked the entrance. When the mother calmed down, she stopped trying to dig for cockroaches or go out to find food and remained silent until dawn. The wound healed without signs of infection. However, upon closer examination, the mother's carapace remained dull and lackluster, showing no improvement, which dampened Bambo's spirits. The raspberry fruit's ability to strengthen the cell was limited, unable to reverse aging. It was beyond any help. Bambo continued watching and noticed that, at nightfall, the Crimson Warrior departed on the ground and entered the vast jungle stretching beneath the mountains to hunt. When he returned, common cockroaches, all sturdy and adult, gradually emerged from the small mountain. Bambo completely gave up the idea of competing for snake meat and resumed digging in the shelter beneath the stone. Seeing this, the mother happily waved her antenna and helped remove dirt from the hole. Finally, they managed to unearth the cockroaches buried in the ground. Bambo perceived, with some doubt, that even in the corpses there remained faint traces of strength, though he wasn't sure if his body could withstand that energy. He decided to throw one cockroach outside to test. Seeing that it remained intact, he started eating them. He then urged the mother to eat as well, but she, with her antenna, signaled him to eat too, although Bambo couldn't do so. Instead, he took one of the corpses and carried it outside, intending to give the extra food to the mother living on another mountain. According to genetic memory, the dangerous winter was approaching, and weak cockroaches, larvae, and elderly adults would end up freezing. The new cockroaches born from the mother's last egg of the year were in an early stage, in the third or fourth instar, and desperately needed meat to grow. Bambo, lacking the energy to worry about his many sisters, only wished that the mother who cared for him would live longer. After insisting several times, the mother began eating until she regained all her strength, and despite that, she insisted on bringing food to her daughters, though Bambo no longer opposed. He saw her drag the corpses away, disappearing into the distance. Since his latest observations, the effects of strength fruits did not significantly slow down the mother's aging. Old age and death remained natural laws. Even the most advanced technology could not reverse them. He is just a humble cockroach larva. Why force it? It's better to let nature take its course. After 5 days of continuous feeding and training, Bambo reaches his 5th molt. The next day, he completes his 5th transformation. During this period, the mother made several additional visits. Now, only one cockroach remains buried underground, surviving solely on decaying leaves, without consuming meat. The growth period at each instar doubles, taking approximately 10 days per stage, which means about 40 more days to reach the subadult phase. With a normal combat ability of 0, the cockroach lacks hunting skills and cannot compete with the adults for food. What can it do? Bambo considers 2 options. The first is to use strength fruits. Instinctively, cockroaches will fight over them, killing many in the process. The second is to move through the mountains, searching for insects that cannot withstand the cold autumn nights and die frozen. The first option is safe and effective but too cruel, as it violates moral principles. The second involves risks. He could be caught by snakes or rodents. After much thought, Bambo chooses the first option. After all, there are tens of millions of cockroaches here. With this method, Bambo accumulates many prey. The Scarlet Warrior assumes that ripe raspberries fall on their own, attracting ignorant clanmates to feed, and takes it for granted. Bambo perches on a dry branch, silently enjoying the faint strength emanating from below, transforming his body. He only feels sad that his mother's condition shows no improvement. At dawn, the leaves start to turn yellow. The mountain, once lively, becomes silent, with only a few cockroaches still active, one large and one small. Bambo makes fewer forays, staying away longer each time. Occasionally, he disappears for 2 or 3 days, hunting large, warm-blooded animals like deer and boars. Since he only brings back small portions, he probably hunts together with other warriors. He is surprised to notice that such a fragile companion can stay active during winter. Hence, every time he captures a large piece of fresh meat, he leaves it at the entrance of Bambo's den. In return, he collects leaves to loosen the soil and fertilize the strength plants. He does not understand Bambo's complex thoughts or his strange behaviors, though he does not try to stop him. Winter in the jungle is silent but not peaceful. Death occurs constantly. The mother has disappeared. Bambo searched everywhere but couldn't find her. In winter, the scarlet cockroaches gather to protect themselves from the cold, although their effectiveness is limited. Fewer than 1 in 100 survives. Those who do survive consume the corpses to obtain nutrients, either to grow quickly or to reproduce in abundance. That's why the scarlet cockroach tribe regains vigor, absorbing strength and completing their 9th molt. Only the scarlet cockroaches that have endured the trials of winter and summer can detect cosmic energy and become scarlet warriors. During the day, they rest to conserve energy. Who knows what secrets the night holds? But to survive, one must stay active when darkness falls. Only with ample amounts of meat can an organism maintain its energy at optimal levels. Becoming a scarlet warrior requires bold decisions and unwavering resilience. Spring thunderstorms roar, waking even the deepest sleepers in the BBO region. Bambo's 18th molt is nearing its end, but his progress is suddenly interrupted. He raises his gaze to a wall of rocks covered with carved marks. 30 of them indicate that he has been through 150 days, including the previous 64 days spent in the neighboring mountain before moving onward. He has already endured half a scorching summer, a bleak autumn, and a deadly, desolate winter. With a mixture of excitement and nostalgia, Bambo examines his grayish shell, which reflects the arduous journey he has traveled so far. Finally, the 19th stage of his development arrives. Each molt leaves small changes in his structure, and after more than 10, his appearance differs significantly from that of the red male cockroach. He wonders how his ability to fly has been affected. What truly worries him, however, is a new memory that has surfaced in his mind. As a Scarlet Warrior, the first seed of life he should possess would be a shrub seed. The question that consumes him is how to continue growing after reaching that state, although his thoughts remain vague. He suspects that these life seeds are linked to strength plants, mysterious and powerful plants that seem to grant energy and power to those around them. What he least expected, however, is that on this planet, there is such an abundance of strength plants that Bambo himself can choose from several. When he was human, his adoptive family possessed fortunes, but even they maintained only one strength plant. The arrival of spring does not bring the Scarlet Warrior's presence, who remains missing. Without the threat he posed, brave birds begin to descend from the mountain in search of food. Bambo left before he could fall asleep, and more than 5 days have passed since then. Could something have happened? He doubts it, but he cannot help but think that perhaps the warrior went in search of prey, even fearing that he might have died in the attempt. Without a powerful protector, there are no guarantees of safety. Rising and leaving his refuge involves constant risk. Another half-solar cycle passes, and still the Scarlet Warrior does not return. Not even some other nearby warriors have come looking for him. He has been missing for more than 10 days, and Bambo, exhausting all hope, begins to consider the necessity of relying on himself to survive. In his makeshift hunting efforts, he accidentally discovers a longhorn beetle larva, a sturdy creature that is completely harmless in a fight. Killing one provides enough food for a full day. Over time, Bambo stops returning to the mountain and adopts a nomadic lifestyle. He takes refuge in tree hollows during the day and early in the night, and before dawn, he goes out to search for larvae on nearby trees. He has witnessed how his companions, in search of food, travel at night and are sometimes stalked by predators, possibly lynxes or even highly dangerous cheetahs. Common cockroaches are found at the lowest end of the food chain in this jungle, turned into easy prey without any protection whatsoever. Suddenly, a strong blow to his nape wakes him up. Bambo moves his antennas, identifying by smell that a bird is pecking nearby. Cautiously, he sticks out his head. Suddenly, a sharp, hard beak, like lightning, tries to catch him. Agile, Bambo responds quickly, lunging with his front legs and breaking the beak with his sharp tips. Fear overtakes him, and without wasting time, he retreats deep into his tree shelter. At 12 centimeters long, Bambo is much stronger than common adult cockroaches, but in front of a woodpecker, he stands no chance in battle. The trunk is actually pierced by the bird's beak. The bird's tongue accurately detects his location, anchoring on it. Bambo slowly withdraws while moving his front limb, attacking more swiftly, stabbing his stinger forcefully and leaving 2 deep wounds. The woodpecker emits a furious cry and, enraged, intensifies its pecking, desperately trying to destroy Bambo's home by pecking at the tree. He observes from outside, still with light in the sky. He completely relaxes, as digging 2 holes has taken quite some time. It's impossible to drill through the entire section of the trunk. After a while of work, the bird lands on a branch and emits a loud call. Soon, another woodpecker flies toward it. The 2 exchange brief signals on the branch and then begin working together. They are reinforcements. Now they are truly after me. 2 woodpeckers can easily pierce through the trunk, and then there would be no way to hide. After much thought, there is only one conclusion. It's certain death. My soul has been changed by the radiation from the metallic core. Will I resurrect after death? If so, I hope that my next life takes a form that is stronger. I have worked hard from a cockroach larva to become an adult being. Recently, I barely sense any presence of strength. I am beginning to show signs of evolution in sleep. I am on the verge of becoming a force entity, one of the creatures at the top of the food chain. However, at this critical moment I know I will fail. Bambo plans to surprise one and blind the carpenter's eye before dying. Suddenly, a sharp cry of the carpenter echoes outside the tree nest. The pecking abruptly stops, and through the hole they made, Bambo sees a slow passage of a scaly creature with a striped brown and black body overhead. Cautiously, Bambo leaves the nest, quickly looks around, and swiftly retreats without leaving a trace. There are no signs of the carpenters or the path where the python serpent went. Thus, a deadly crisis was resolved in an instant. The cockroaches inhabiting the mountain attract many predators, so they must move far away from this dangerous area. Bambo climbs a tall tree and observes the landscape from the top. The location is sufficiently far from the mountain, visible only as a faint blue shadow on the horizon. Now, he needs to find a truly safe refuge. During his search, Bambo discovers an even better place, a huge black rock in the middle of the jungle. He surveys the surroundings. Next to the rock, there is a small patch of grass, and nearby, dense primitive trees. Surely, there are many weaker insects than him, so he shouldn't worry about food. The 19th molt will mark the transition from his ordinary life to his transformation into a force being. It is likely that he will undergo a very long sleep. Bambo must ensure he is fully protected during this rest period. The large excavation took almost half a month. Finally, his shelter is ready. Bambo cannot wait any longer. He settles in the deepest part and sinks into a deep sleep. Thunder rumbles intensely, causing the earth itself to vibrate. I am Bambo, a human cockroach, warrior of the lightning cockroach clan of celestial thunderstorms of the Scarlet Group. Instinctively, he begins to chew on the leaves inside his chamber. After consuming them completely, he finally feels a sense of relief. His energy has recovered, and his consciousness began to clear slightly. The storm woke him. If not, he would have slept silently until death. Recognizing his surroundings and understanding the situation required great mental effort, which caused a severe headache. Time had passed, though he couldn't specify exactly how much. Before sleeping, Bambo specifically hunted 3 longhorn beetle larvae, but now they were spoiled and moldy, completely unusable for consumption. Based on the temperature, Bambo deduced that his 19th molt and the sleep that accompanied that stage lasted more than a month, leaving behind winter to arrive directly at summer without any technological aid. Genetic evolution is extremely dangerous, as each molt represents a life-or-death trial. Without the thunderstorm rumbling in the background, he would likely have fallen victim to the summer monsoon. With this molt, his body size grew to about 15 centimeters, and he also acquired new genetic memories from the Crimson Half-Claw clan. Bambo thought cautiously. Memories were divided into 2 categories: cultivation and survival. Despite his previous human knowledge, he still couldn't determine whether the growth of crimson beetles could be considered a form of cultivation, as it was an evolution he had never seen before. When ordinary beetles transform into beings of strength, an organ called the seed pouch of life develops inside them. By nourishing themselves with a plant seed, that seed becomes a force seed known as a life seed. The force crop plants that Bambo had seen in the Crimson Warriors were not naturally occurring force seeds. They were cultivated and nourished by the seed pouch of life. This awakened genetic memory clarified many previous mysteries. The life seeds absorb force through one part for their own growth and return the rest to their cultivator, which is why Crimson Warriors never needed specific training. They were constantly absorbing force. Among the genetic memories, the knowledge for survival is even more complex and vague. For example, the herb at Bambo's shelter entrance is called stinging nettle tail herb. In summer and early autumn, it produces seeds called nettle seeds. Near the shelter, there is a colony of ants known as large-headed gatherer ants. These ants love those seeds and actively participate in their cultivation. In spring, they plant the seeds near their nest and take care to eliminate weeds and fertilize. When the nettle seeds mature, they harvest, dry, cure, and store them. According to genetic memory, ants are neither particularly tasty nor easy to handle. The gatherer ant colony was affected by the storm, which caused them to go out and dry the seeds they stored. Bambo decided to take advantage of the opportunity and acted as a thief. He swallowed a nettle seed that caught his attention, flew in circles, and finally silently returned to his shelter. The large-headed ants furiously waved their antennae, and hundreds of their comrades emerged to defend their home with open mandibles, though in the end they dared not approach. Although they seem ferocious, in reality these tiny insects are quite adorable. At that moment, Bambo clearly felt that his mind was sharper than ever. The complex thoughts no longer produce that overwhelming saturation effect after use. His perception of the environment has elevated to a higher level, as if he were viewing the world through compound eyes. Colors are more vivid, images much sharper. Now he has become a true force. However, in this process, he discovered a surprisingly terrifying flaw in the cockroach's body. Unlike humans, it has no meridians through which to channel energy. The universe hosts many creatures that are extremely powerful without cultivation. For a long time, he confused human ideas with reality. Are cockroaches on this planet really weak? It's too early to judge. From a theoretical perspective, the ability to use cosmic force to modify genes opens up infinite evolutionary potential. The supposed weakness simply indicates that he has not yet found the right path to evolve. But the starting point for the cockroach was very low, absolute zero at the bottom of the food chain. What matters most now is strengthening himself. He cannot stay constantly on alert, fearing to be hunted by larger creatures. Bambo forcibly comforts himself and feels some relief. After evolution, his front limbs are more developed. Each of the 3 tips has accumulated an additional segment, becoming thin, flexible, and blade-like. The structure of his membranous wings has slightly changed, resembling those of helite bees, with qualitatively improved flight capabilities. Bambo discovers that his will influences the direction of his evolution. Having a prior concept makes subsequent changes truly aligned with that idea. Genetic memory reveals that all warrior cockroaches on this planet go through 6 stages of growth. Bambo is now a level 1 novice warrior. Genetic memory indicates that young warriors should grow rapidly under the protection of the clan elders, and only upon reaching the supreme warrior stage can they choose territory and live independently. Bambo's ancestor was that crimson warrior, who unfortunately died under mysterious circumstances. As young warriors, they can only hunt small insects for sustenance. Still at the bottom of the food chain, Bambo has reached his maximum development stage, but he requires an enormous amount of food. After returning the load he carried, hunger returned with full force. Just as he is about to go out to find food, a large green insect lands on a nettle leaf, calmly chewing tender leaves. According to genetic memory, it is a nymph of a horned grasshopper, incapable of fighting, but with exceptional escape skills. Bambo carefully inspects his surroundings, confirming that no dangerous predators are nearby, and then approaches silently. In an instant, he calculates the angle and jumps off the ground, momentarily losing his balance. He spreads his wings, and with a swift motion hits the target. His left front pincer pierces the armor of the nymph, breaking its shell and holding it firmly, while his right leg stabs towards its compound eye. The scene causes a great commotion. About 10 nearby horned grasshopper nymphs are alarmed, jumping and fleeing in panic. Life continues its routine. Each day, at dawn and midday, Bambo goes hunting. 2 nymphs are enough for him to feed himself. The remaining hind leg dries for storage, while the rest is shared with his aunt and the neighbors. Soon a month passes, during which a second molting occurs, and he becomes a young warrior of level 2. My body reaches 18 centimeters in length. My strength increases slightly, though the changes are not drastic. There are still 7 similar evolutionary advances to achieve. Only when I become an ultimate warrior will I experience a decisive qualitative leap. When I check the hole's entrance, I realize it is already noon, and the heat waves make the air shimmer and tremble. Most animals hide, unable to withstand such weather, but the large-headed foraging ants work tirelessly under the scorching sun. Thanks to Bambo and several small flowering snakes, these ants energetically hunt for groups of swordgrass grasshopper nymphs and nettle shoots. This year, the harvest of these ants has been outstanding. My first seed of life has finished incubation. Should I plant it? Better not. It's not the right season yet. The seed is 4. It would be foolish to die from the heat. But which seed should I choose for my next vital seed? Bambo begins to ponder. He goes out hunting for 2 strong-legged nymphs. He hides near the river entrance, eating as he reflects. A few meters away, more than a dozen jade white mulberry trees grow, exquisite species that draw attention for their flavor. Their small seeds fit in the seed pouch of life, but they require at least 3 years to mature after planting. Nearby, in the forest, there is a rare evergreen tree that also grows slowly. Red raspberries seem the most suitable option, although they ripen in late autumn. When cockroach warriors care for their seeds in the pouches, the complexity of the process is remarkable. Each decision influences future evolutionary stages. Banbo decides to take advantage of the midday heat to go to the river and undertake several excursions. He collects more than a dozen jade blackberries and places them at the entrance of the ants' nest. These ants, lacking particular taste, quickly swarm over them. They devour the pulp of the blackberries and gather the seeds, which they leave to dry in the sun. Everything in the nettle field proceeds calmly on a bright day. The humidity decreases, and by midday, the sun will completely dry the seeds. As usual, Banbo leaves just in time, perches on a distant blade of grass, observing and carefully comparing. He plans to select 3 jade mulberry seeds and light fruit seeds of sunlight quality to store in his chamber. His gaze fixes on a shiny seed of a peculiar shape. It looks like a nettle seed. Normal seeds, when dried, are brownish in tone. This one, without a doubt, is a mutated seed from a forced plant, a true genetic treasure. Is it luck on my part? Or is the planet so fertile that mutations in plants are more frequent? Amid his excitement, a vague memory surfaces in his genetic memory. A term, seed granted by the gods. The genetic memory indicates that there are 2 methods to cultivate divine seeds. The first is direct seeding. The seed-producing plant yields fruits or seeds that, when consumed, grant uncertain special abilities. The second method involves nourishing the vital seed with a seed pouch, which can infuse racial abilities into the seed granted by the god, thereby creating a vital seed of exceptional quality. However, this process requires consuming a large amount of cosmic energy, delaying personal development. Banbo hesitates for 2 seconds, then quickly launches into the air, diving down to swallow the bestowed seed in one gulp, while activating his vital seed pouch to enclose it. The action immediately provokes the anger of the large-headed gathering ants that guard these seeds, who seem ready to fight to the death. Wanting to avoid trouble, Banbo hurriedly gathers some tree seeds and quickly retreats. From yesterday, I chose those fruits with effort, for you, he thinks as he distances himself from the conflict. From the entrance of his refuge, he waves his antennas in a warning, releasing threatening pheromones. The soldier ants, with large heads and hostile intentions, hesitate instantly and do not dare to advance further. For a moment, both sides remain silent, intense anticipation. Finally, the ant colony retreats, leaving behind its resentment but never gratitude, for they cannot be considered intelligent beings, not even with a basic level of intelligence. Banbo spends the day observing and notices that the clover grass, known as neckgrass, does not seem to be affected by the intense sun. On the contrary, it grows vigorously under abundant sunlight. After reflecting, he concludes that this plant does not fear the heat. Its mature roots, buried in the soil, supply enough water for healthy growth. Confident in this, he begins to plan the planting of his first vital seed. 2 days later, a delicate sprout breaks through the earth, and a small, weak yet wonderful bond forms between the plant and him. A shared destiny connection. Banbo gathers stones and constructs a fence around the seed, continually protecting it from herbivorous insects such as locust nymphs with sword horns. Fortunately, a heavy rain arrives, watering the ground and helping the sprout develop 3 green leaves. With the onset of a drought season, the superficial moisture of the soil quickly evaporates under the burning sun. To prepare, Banbo finds a hollow plant stalk to collect dew from the leaves each dawn. As the plant grows, this sense of unity becomes more intense and apparent. After a storm, he carefully digs and transplants the plant near the entrance of his burrow. The transplanting is successful. The plant grows even more vigorously, surpassing the second harvest nettle grass with mature roots. Its leaves show a notable difference. The veins are dark purple, thicker and more resilient. Days pass, and after a month, Banbo shows signs of molting, feeling sleepy and increasingly convinced that a severe drought is approaching. Without watering, The immature netgrass seedling could die from the heat and the unwanted sword-horn locust nymphs, which, if not caught in time, would end up devouring the vital seed entirely. Banbo is convinced that surviving the drought and enduring the voracity of the nymphs will improve his situation and increase his chances of success. The drowsiness resembles a curse that steadily grows, enveloping each moment in a fog of deep exhaustion. Banbo stubbornly resists his body's natural cycle, clinging to his will as his only shield. Many days have already passed without a drop of rain, in a drought that is not merely seasonal but a disaster ravaging everything. The majestic foliage of the jungle trees begins to yellow, signaling that life is waning. The grass by the riverbank dries up and dies, the ponds become arid, and the small flowered snake that dwelled nearby disappears, perhaps a victim of the heat or fleeing the disaster in search of refuge. Banbo feels some regret for having carelessly planted the stinging nettle seed that contained life. Now he cannot find water to water the plants, and the first leaves of those seeds, which were still ripening, are also turning yellow. The new leaves, just beginning to sprout, wither and stop growing. In despair, he has no choice but to carry branches and build a simple shelter to protect himself from the intense sunlight. Fate will determine whether he manages to survive. Exhausted and on the brink of exhaustion, Banbo curls up in his nest and falls into a deep sleep. While sleeping, a vast amount of genetic information related to seeds given by the gods awakens within him, imprinting itself on his soul's memory. The life seeds conceived from these divine blessings are not ordinary. Their growth requires absorbing enormous amounts of energy, so they must be planted in places rich in strength. The best strategy is to bury the seeds amid stones, helping them develop vigorously. Novice warriors should not choose divine seeds as life seeds, as the evolutionary sleep is crucial for both their personal growth and the nurturing process of the seeds. These seeds granted by the gods consume an exorbitant amount of strength, causing delays in their development. A vital piece of knowledge that is not always revealed in time. But why didn't he wake up earlier, with that dizzy feeling and a body even weaker than after his first transformation? Banbo once again approached the brink of death, although this time he managed to survive. The moisture in the air that he so desperately needed finally reaches him. First, he feeds on a few leaves around his nest, resting solely to regain strength, then moves up toward the storage chamber located at the top. After 2 previous failures, on his 3rd attempt he manages to access the room. The chamber, carved inside a black rock, remained intact, with no humidity affecting its contents. The dried meat stored there is still in good condition. Now, transformed into a level 3 novice warrior, his body shows subtle changes, slowly approaching the optimal combat form he envisioned. In his hands, he releases a seed of golden-purple color that glows faintly in the semi-darkness with a violet hue. It is his second life seed, granted by the gods during his transformation process. The molting stage lasted approximately a month, spanning from midsummer to early autumn. At the entrance to his lair, a green grass plant about 3 meters tall sways gently with the breeze and rain, especially highlighting its stem with pale purple flowers that emit a faint purple glow in the darkness. The stinging nettle seed, which not only survived the drought, but also grew to astonishing heights and has already blossomed, continues to perform its miracle. As Banbo stares in amazement, a gentle and involuntary force invades his body. The seed has accumulated excessive strength and needs to release it, transferring part of it to Banbo himself. However, his current capacity to absorb this energy is still limited and requires time to adapt. His shell emits a faint violet glow, and as he penetrates it, only a small part of that force is absorbed by the cells. Most of it dissipates back into nature. Now, his rate of autonomous force absorption barely allows him to progress in his personal growth. As expected, to reach level 4, he needs the help of a life seed. On that mountain, only a handful of crimson warrior saplings remain, along with a blackberry bush beginning to bear fruit. The blackberry will be ready for harvest in about a month, enough time to ripen and be collected. Now he can cultivate a 3rd life seed, a white jade mulberry tree with fruit illuminated by the sun. Banbo meditates carefully and decides to prioritize the sun fruit. His daily hunting doesn't take much time. He spends most of the day resting at the entrance of his burrow, watching over the nettle. The life seed digests food, absorbs cosmic energy, and perceives its own growth. Bambo has not yet adjusted to this passive growth mechanism, which escapes his control. Examining his entire body, he realizes that, as a cockroach, there are no meridians. After much reflection, he finally has an epiphany. For a long time, he focused on the supposed lack of meridians but without understanding their true purpose. Human meridians store and channel energy, while cockroach blood can perfectly contain and release cosmic force, fulfilling functions similar to meridians. The difference is that cockroach blood circulates automatically throughout the body without control, and the stored force is released naturally without conscious intervention. His thoughts are completely transformed. Then he realizes that controlling blood circulation would be equivalent to cultivating through meridians. Humans cannot regulate their blood flow, but perhaps cockroaches can. Humans have only one heart, while cockroaches have 3 large hearts in the chest and abdomen, along with numerous small hearts distributed throughout the blood vessels, especially at the junctions of ganglia. These hearts, large and small, work together to pump blood. Bambo's idea is simple. Inside his body, there are countless blood vessels of all sizes. Although they seem chaotic, they follow clear patterns. If he manages to control all the hearts, making them beat or stop when necessary, he will be able to direct the flow of blood in his body, which would be equivalent to guiding the circulation of his strength and progressing in his cultivation. The task is extremely difficult, since the heartbeat depends on bodily conditions and hormonal stimuli that are beyond his conscious control. Once he has had this revelation, he embarks on a vast and arduous process of exploration. Tracking his own pulse, he performs various movements while perceiving how the beats change. He stimulates his muscles and blood vessels with vigorous movements, using his mental power to sense the variations. Gradually, he discovers that his tiny body contains many hidden formations, blood vessels and hearts that are not visible to the naked eye. These secret vessels are very elastic, normally contracting into tiny fibers that do not obstruct the movement of his muscles. The complexity of his muscular, vascular, and skeletal structures far exceeds that of a human body, revealing a much more advanced and mysterious anatomy. At first, Bambo believed it would be easy to develop cultivation methods aligned with his intentions, but he soon realized that the task was much more complex than expected. Creating techniques was merely a difficult process of exploration and deduction, in which each step revealed new complications. Figuratively speaking, what he initially considered calculations based on the number 3 became base 6 after detecting hidden vessels and internal hearts. In human society, computer program technology would greatly facilitate these tasks. But on his primitive planet, Bambo found himself completely alone, without technology, not even paper or a pen. With great effort, he began to carve an exploration chamber deep inside a large rock, carefully smoothing the upper surface and recording information in the most rudimentary way, by carving it into stone. There, he drew 9 diagrams of beetles, front, back, and side views with meticulous detail describing his own circulatory system, nodules, muscles, and, above all, the distribution of blood vessels and hearts. The surface was covered with dense texts, with marginal notes functioning as a structural atlas, leaving marks on less critical parts. This work took him more than 15 days, demanding intense physical and mental effort, draining his energy and increasing his need for food. Unfortunately, from an unknown place, a fire snake appeared and settled near the river. Genetic memory showed that adult fire snakes were colossal creatures that ruled the jungle. The top predators in the food chain required high-level hunters, and this snake had already become an unbeatable monster for Bambo. With nothing he could do, he could only watch in helplessness as his prey, a young specimen about 5 meters long, was hunted by the serpent. Still unsure whether the creature might also turn toward him, Bambo avoided hunting at night, trusting he could endure the situation. But the fire snake began to expand its territory, feeding on mice, squirrels, rabbits, birds, and other small animals near the forest. Additionally, the ember snake started to notice the grass seed of stinging nettle that Bambo cultivated with such effort, attracted by the aura of energy it emitted. At one point, it moved its sunbathing spot from the black rock to the entrance of its nest. Every morning, the snake would inevitably slither toward the seed, curling up beside it and staying there until midday. Bambo's patience ran out. Not only did he keep blocking the entrance to his refuge tirelessly, but now the snake eagerly coveted the seed, despite the work he had put into cultivating it. Bambo couldn't envision how to eliminate this creature, as his genetic memory, triggered in him, recorded many venomous snakes, but he couldn't find any close by. However, he discovered a small insect called the stink beetle, known for its bright and striking coloration, which warns of its high toxicity. In the jungle, vibrant colors are often signals of danger to predators, who avoid these insects due to their intolerable smell and deadly venom. Animal senses in nature detect this pheromone, creating an instinctive repulsion towards them. Bambo decided to take advantage of this natural protection. He thought about using the beetle's smell to scare away the ember snake. The next day, he captured a stink beetle and applied its toxin in a circle around the seed, creating an olfactory barrier that, in theory, would keep the snake at bay. The tongue of the fiery snake detects a sharp, flickering scent in the air. It hesitates, circles around for a long time, but ultimately does not approach the vital seed. Bambo observes silently, confirms that his method works, and secretly feels pleased, deciding to expand his patrol perimeter. In just one afternoon, he captures nearly 100 stink beetles, spreading stones infused with their strong aroma around the black rock and the thorny bushes. The deadly smell disperses unobstructed into the environment. At dawn the next day, a silhouette of a charcoal snake appears in the distance, cautiously slithering in search of an opening. However, the stench overwhelms it. It then withdraws, curling away beneath a golden rain tree, with its head lowered, mouth closed, and an expression of discouragement. The bifurcated tongue of the boa, its primary sensory organ, is extremely sensitive to smell, and although it cannot tolerate that aroma, instinctively it does not abandon the grass seeds. During the first few days, it moves cautiously around the perimeter, seeking an opportunity to approach. After several unsuccessful days, it finally ceases its attempts. With the snake gone, Bambo begins to cultivate and explore the perception of strength. While carving records in a second chamber, he quickly fills it. There are 53 diagrams, each accompanied by a brief text called the Atlas of Fundamental Movement. The daily routine keeps him constantly occupied. However, this insect, in solitude, experiences no loneliness. Time passes unnoticed in his laborious activity, and the process of evolution accelerates even further. After only 2 days of lethargy, he cannot bear it and falls into a deep sleep. Robust birds and animals that consume forceful fruits have high probabilities of evolving into fighters, often with abilities much greater than those of battling insects. If beast warriors appear in a territory, they must be eliminated immediately, or they will cause serious problems. During the seed maturation season, birds and animals may attempt to steal the seeds. Compassion must not be shown, or else they will loot the harvest and pose a threat to the clan's dominance. Knowledge encoded in genes activates during the evolutionary transformation, though it is fragmented, chaotic, and diffuse. This reaffirmation allows it to find itself in better shape than ever before. Without obvious weaknesses, after feeding and replenishing himself, he quickly recovers his energy. He goes out to assess the situation. It is already morning. The carbonized serpent does not abandon its strategy. It coils once more at the entrance, blocking the exit and vigilantly watching. The weed seeds and life grasses remain a pale hue, still immature. At noon, the carbonized serpent withdraws. Bambo intensifies his capture of stinking beetles, reusing their odor glands to strengthen perimeter defense. The grass seeds change from pale purple to a black-purple glow by night, indicating that they are approaching maturity. The serpent clearly perceives the imminent state of the seeds, prowling nearby for an opportunity to strike. When the nettle seeds reach maturity, the foul-smelling beetle barrier breaks, and they, without hesitation, impulsively rush to seize them. This deeply distresses Bambo. Had he known he would face such tribulation, he would not have hastily planted the nettle seed of life. After some reflection, he devises 3 possible solutions. The first involves collecting the seeds before they fully mature. The second strategy involves waiting for the nettle seed to reach its proper ripeness and watching as it is devoured by the fiery serpent. A fetus of a fiery serpent consuming the force fruit in its immature state will likely die suddenly or, to a lesser extent, fall into a deep sleep and evolve into a forceful being. The third option is that Banbo, bravely, confronts the fiery serpent, especially since recent training has given him a better chance of victory, although he initially dismisses this idea. For several days, he debates between the first and second strategies. Ultimately, he chooses the second, knowing that life seeds are not limited. There is no rush. This year's harvest has been destroyed, but the next will bring more seeds ready to be planted. The fiery serpent continues to strengthen and must be eliminated as soon as possible to ensure future peace. The day after deciding on this plan, the lowest seed on the spike stops shining at night, signaling that it has fully matured. Without any ceremony, the fiery serpent coils at the entrance to Banbo, preparing to endure the passage of time. It does not attempt to eat the mature seeds immediately. On another day, 3 more seeds ripen, but the serpent still does not strike. Clearly, it is waiting for all the seeds to mature so it can devour them all at once. As described by genetic memory, fiery serpents are insatiable beasts. The more they eat, the worse their condition. Banbo curses furiously. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, a dark gray shadow appears out of nowhere and attacks the serpent unprovoked. The battle erupts quickly, catching even Banbo off guard, who observes secretly. The fight clearly favors the attacker. A shadow hunter, coming from genetic memory, recognizes the figure in the darkness. The fight is uneven. The small shadow arches its back, tail held high, showing fierce intent. In a flash, its claws leave bloody scratches on the fiery serpent. It coils in circles, head hidden, enduring the blows like a sandbag. It's not that it doesn't want to fight. Simply, the enemy is too fast, impossible to target. The shadow completes its attack with a series of strikes. Then, feigning exhaustion, retreats to a safe position, carefully watching the serpent. The fiery serpent keeps its head hidden, motionless, showing no signs of life. The shadow doesn't relax. It takes a brief rest and then circles around its prey again, seeking deadly weak points. As an experienced hunter, it knows exactly what tricks to employ, and so, after more than 10 circles revealing no vulnerable spots, it suddenly lunges forward and bites the exposed tail. The coiled fiery serpent constricts its body and, suddenly, thrusts its head outward in a defensive act. His entire body straightens with the precision of an arrow shot. His jaws open towards the shadow hunter. The tense body of the hunter surges forward with force, leaping high and spinning in the air to avoid the deadly blow, while his claws slash through the air, attempting to target the vital point of the serpent's neck. However, his speed is insufficient and he fails to connect. With all his strength, the hunter's attack leaves 3 deep bleeding wounds in the serpent's belly. Banbo watches in awe, stunned by the pure ferocity of the primal combat between primitive creatures. The fire serpent quickly coils itself, adopting a defensive posture. The shadow hunter continues to circle it at a certain distance, unhurried to attack, testing the serpent's patience. The serpent remains coiled, refusing to show its head. Banbo notices that the blood from its torn scales dries quickly, a clear sign that it possesses a powerful healing ability, common among cold-blooded beings. The hunter, on the other hand, lacks this capability. After repeating the spin more than 10 times, he cannot resist the temptation to provoke another attack. Using the same strategy, he suddenly strikes, biting the exposed tail of the serpent. This time, the serpent is ready. The moment the bite penetrates its tail, it pulls forcefully in a motion similar to that of a fisherman, drawing closer to the hunter. Simultaneously, it raises its head with jaws open, in a waiting stance, not attacking yet. The hunter, off balance from the force, jumps back in panic. As he leaps into the air, the serpent catches him with its raised head and strikes swiftly, trapping him in a crushing embrace. Its body coils in a constriction spiral, hidden at the entrance of its nest. Bambo can barely hear the cracking of bones under the intense pressure. The battle ends when the fire serpent struggles to swallow the hunter, its swollen belly. A medium-sized mammal that, besides healing wounds, gains enough nutrients for its growth. However, after this perilous victory, it loses a bit of caution. Its swollen belly prevents it from coiling, leaving it stretched out and slow in movement. Seeing this, Bambo's heart fills with joy. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of what lies behind. Bambo moves away from the large black rock, circling it widely, quietly approaching the fire serpent, and suddenly takes flight, landing at the vital point of its neck with his 6 legs applying pressure. For hind legs hold firmly, while the other 2, with sharp tips, cut in a horizontal motion. The fire serpent writhes in pain, moving violently, but its swollen belly greatly limits its movements. Gradually, its strength wanes, not only due to the exhausting fight but also because of a severe loss of blood. The snake, desperate to avoid death, begins to slide towards its refuge in the pond. Instinctively, it twitches its tail side to side, its jaws open in a 180-degree arc, seeming reluctant to allow the ambusher to survive. It coils at a distance, slowly, confirming that its enemy has been completely killed. Only then does it approach to process the seed of life. In this way, it secures food for an extended period. After reinforcing its defensive perimeter, Bambo collects the 4 mature nettle seeds produced by the seed of life and temporarily stores them in its nest. The bloody aroma attracts 2 nearby colonies of giant jaw hunting ants, who cease collecting nettle seeds and organize themselves into long lines. Tirelessly, they cut and transport meat non-stop. These ants also enjoy meat, and their consumption accelerates the queen's egg-laying and promotes larval growth within the colony. The new workers are born stronger as the day progresses. Bambo only rests at noon, satisfied and well-fed. It takes a grass seed to test its effect, experiencing a sensation of increased cellular activity. The seed indeed stimulates cellular vitality, though differently compared to the raspberry fruit it tried earlier. Raspberry fruit boosts cellular vitality, and nettle seeds have a similar effect, along with speeding up cell proliferation. Bambo needs approximately half a day to digest a grass seed, during which it must eat several times to maintain its energy and nutrition. It can consume up to 2 seeds daily. More than that, its body cannot handle, and the effects diminish, plus it damages the cells. The next day, the seed of life suddenly produces 11 mature nettle seeds. By this trend, in 2 days all the seeds will be ready for harvest. Bambo cannot eat so many in a short time, so, mimicking the giant jaw-collecting ants, it moves the mature seeds to sunny spots to dry each morning when the sun evaporates the dew. At dusk, it brings them back to the nest to store them, ensuring the scent of the stinky beetle disperses properly, thus reaching the point where all mature seeds are harvested and dried. During this process, the giant ants manage to reduce the blazing snake and the shadow hunter to only skeletons carrying all the edible meat, without other large predators disturbing them at that time. Furthermore, luck favors Bambo. The raspberry fruit from the mountains is already ripe. The territory of the Red Cockroach clan that once protected Bambo is far away, on a dangerous path. Plan to stay in the mountains for a while, consuming all the local raspberries before returning. After ripening and harvesting the stinging nettle seeds and grass seeds, the leaves begin to yellow. Spring sprouts, summer blooms, autumn arrives with the harvest, and winter comes with the plant's death. This is the natural cycle of the stinging nettle. The seed of nettle life absorbs strength to grow, its genes evolve, becoming much more resistant than ordinary nettles. All that remains is to hope that its roots can withstand the cold winter and sprout again in the next spring. As he leaves the mountains, Bambo, who was once just a simple cockroach, is now a young warrior in his 4th star. He feels an inexplicable sense of victory, as if he has returned triumphant. At dawn, the distant mountain range appears before his eyes, and other problems quickly arise. More than half a year has passed since he left, and he can barely remember which peak he saw upon his return. The cockroach population in the mountains remains massive, with no signs of the snakes, rodents, or birds that were expected in that area. Banbo quickly considers two possible explanations. First, that a powerful warrior from the Crimson Cockroach clan has arrived near the mountains. Second, that the original clan warrior himself is still alive. The previous sudden disappearance seemed to indicate that he had hidden somewhere safe to sleep and evolve. The idea barely forms in his mind when he feels, almost imperceptibly, a mental force passing through him. Suddenly, from a distant peak, a huge cockroach takes flight like a crimson fireball passing through the air at extraordinary speed, comparable to any bird Banbo has seen in the jungle. The colossal figure lands right in front of him, and immediately, he is caught by a pair of pincers. The giant cockroach grips him with its four-tined claws, lifting him high and examining him from all angles. "I remember you," it says in a deep and formidable tone. "You are that small black thing hiding under the rocks." In a desperate act, Banbo vibrates his wings forcefully, producing angry sounds, while Tenny emits pheromonal scents of furious odor, trying to communicate that this enormous cockroach is undoubtedly the warrior of the Crimson Cockroach clan who once sheltered him. The evidence that he did not die fills him with hope. "From the beginning, I knew you had the best chance of becoming a clan warrior," Banbo reflects, a satisfied smile hidden in his mind. The warrior looks somewhat startled, completely ignoring Banbo's anger. He examines him thoroughly before releasing him, speaking with a certain nostalgic tone. "How is it that you've become even darker? You're so ugly." Banbo adjusts his wings, unsure how to respond. "I thought you were only trying to survive, but it turns out the warrior from the clan hasn't died. That means the seeds of life in the mountain have a owner. Therefore, his plan has failed. From the perspective of his genetic memories, he now has the support of the clan elders and powerful warriors." He introduces himself with a firm voice. "They call me Flame Stripes. Little one, what is your name?" His inexperience makes him forget that he is still young and cannot communicate telepathically with ease. However, he knows that this warrior has a name, and his memory reminds him that Flame Stripes is a rare plant, considered beautiful according to the aesthetic standards of the Crimson Cockroach clan. "My name is Banbo," he transmits slowly with his psychic strength. The warrior is startled, shakes his wings nervously, and takes a few steps back, gazing intently at Banbo for a long moment with a surprised expression. "How many molts have you gone through? How did you learn to communicate telepathically?" he asks with a puzzled tone. Telepathic communication requires a great deal of energy, especially for a spirit as weak as Banbo's. Just by transmitting those few words, his mind is already exhausted. He needs a lot of rest to recover. Then, he points a claw at his head and says, "Genetic memory. That too." Flame Stripes scratches his head with one of his pincers, murmuring, "The more favored by the god of nature, the more knowledge is awakened." Suddenly, he is frozen by a revelation, unable to hide his joy, and continues asking, "Why did you leave the summit?" The signal used by cockroaches to communicate is too monotonous and ambiguous. It doesn't form complete sentences. Banbo, due to the complexity of the question, doesn't answer immediately. Flame Stripes, excited, persists. "Did you survive all this time alone?" Banbo slightly gestures with his antenna in a simple reply. "Yes." Flame Stripes insists again. "Where? How come I've never seen you?" Banbo extends an antenna pointing downward, toward the vast jungle stretching beneath them. Flame Stripes exclaims, indicating the danger of the forest. "The jungle is so dangerous that your survival is a miracle. Why didn't you stay on the mountain?" Banbo is at a loss for words. At that moment, the mountain was an even more dangerous place. Seeing that Banbo doesn't respond, Flame Stripes reassures himself, "Lucky that you remembered your way home and came back." Banbo feels somewhat uncomfortable. An incomprehensible thought crosses his mind. His mother, absent and vanished. Unless a miracle happens, she probably didn't survive the last winter. Flame Stripes, who keeps talking non-stop, continues questioning before Banbo can respond. "What is Banbo? My genetic memory doesn't recognize that kind of plant." "Such a strange name," he adds. "The peaks you know, the familiar plants, and those rocks where you used to hide." After nearly a year of growth, the seedlings planted by Flamestripes have reached a considerable, much taller height. Since he hadn't thought about available space when planting them, he moved several, which significantly damaged the life seeds. The raspberry bush has almost doubled in size, with lush, dense branches and leaves, shaping its form. Now, during harvest season, the bush is laden with nearly ripe raspberries. Flamestripes descends alongside the bush, carefully examining each berry to pick one. He takes a ripe raspberry, gently breaking it with the tip of his finger. "Bambo, are you hungry?" he asks. "Eat." Then he himself swallows a large raspberry. Bambo doesn't hesitate. He takes another berry and gobbles it up. The sweet, fragrant, warm flavor spreads through his blood, and a pleasurable feeling of warmth and comfort completely envelopes him. Flamestripes watches attentively for Bambo's reaction and, seeing that swallowing the whole berry causes no discomfort, he asks, "How many moltings have you had since you became a warrior of the clan?" Bambo reflects and, with one antenna, draws 3 vertical lines in the ground. 3 times. Flamestripes repeats. "That makes you a warrior in the 4th stage, right? More than half a year, approximately. Normally, novice warriors molt once a month." Bambo's slow progress is attributed to excessive care for the divine seed, disasters, and protection of the urticaria seed. Flamestripes is unaware of the reasons, assuming that Bambo barely survived in the jungle. In an encouraging tone, he says, "Surviving alone in such a dangerous environment isn't quick, but don't worry. From now on, I will take care of you, and you'll become an advanced warrior in no time." He was moved by his companion's kindness and care. Flamestripes shows greater satisfaction, waving his antennas and flapping his wings enthusiastically. "Bambo, you were born on my territory," he says. "You are my junior. Taking care of you is part of my duty." "Wow, you've molted 3 times already," he continues. "Have you cultivated life seeds?" His expression shows concern. "Yes," Bambo replies affirmatively. Instantly, Flamestripes relaxes and asks, "Which plants did you choose to cultivate the life seeds?" Bambo hesitates for a moment before transmitting his thoughts with psychic force. "Nettlerass, stinging nettle herb." The flames flicker for a moment, but then anxiety takes over, and he exclaims worriedly, "Nettlerass? Why nettlerass? That's very bad. Totally wrong. Winter's coming and it will die. I can't believe you've cultivated 3 life seeds of nettlerass." Flamestripes treats him as an ignorant child, without giving it much importance. Bambo remains silent for a long time, scratching 2 vertical lines into the ground with his claw. Flamestripes asks him, "2 nettlerass life seeds?" Bambo nods with his antennas. Part 28 of 38. The first selection of nettlerass was inevitable, as no other suitable seeds were found. The second was not a seed of common nettle herb, but an extremely rare seed bestowed by a god. Flamestripes inquires, "Which plant did you choose for the 3rd life seed?" After a long pause, Bambo responds through telepathic power, "Sunlit fruit." Flamestripes relaxes slightly, considering that sunlit fruit is quite good. "Seems you understand how to select life seeds, doesn't it?" Bambo nods with his antennas, and Flamestripes, surprised, realizes the season of the year. "Did you become a warrior in spring and that's why you couldn't find suitable seeds, choosing nettlerass as the life seed instead?" Bambo nods with his antennas. "Yes." Flamestripes, puzzled, asks, "Where did you get those nettlerass seeds?" Bambo moves his antennas and transmits 2 messages in succession. "The ants stole them from those large-headed ants. Don't provoke the ants." Flamestripes understands the situation, reassuring him, "Be careful from now on. Always choose the best plant seeds to cultivate life seeds. Understand?" Bambo nods with his antennas. "Do you understand?" Flamestripes moves his antenna and proposes, "Come, I will show you something interesting." In front of the cave, there is a clearing where the plants that grew there have been completely removed. Some branches cut in a circle form a simple protective fence. Inside, a seedling of only about 3 meters tall grows. "Bambo, do you know this plant?" Flamestripes asks proudly, making his vanity clear. Banbo, somewhat uncooperative, waves his antennas and comments. I don't recognize it. Flamestripes notices that Banbo shows little interest in his most prized plant. This disappoints him slightly. The plant he has is a gift given to him last year by the Iron Blade Lord. It is a scarlet spike tree, while the most common plants are cloud cypress, raspberry, blackberry, white jade, mora, sunlit fruit, eucalyptus, and elm. However, the iron blade tree and the scarlet spike tree are rare plants, possibly endangered. According to their development potential after being transformed into life seeds, these plants are classified into 4 levels: low, medium, high, and precious. Nettle herb, flamestripes, and other herbaceous plants belong to the low potential category. Raspberry, blackberry, white jade, mora, and sunlit fruit are considered medium potential. The cloud cypress, on the other hand, is very common and can be considered high potential. The iron blade trees and scarlet spike trees have a potential in the precious category. The wood of the iron blade is harder than steel. The condensed fruit from the trees with life seeds of the crimson thorn must be cooked before consumption. This cooking significantly enhances its hardness, which is its most valuable trait. The wood of the crimson thorn is similar to that of the iron leaf, but its branches are even more resilient. The fruit produced by the seeds of life from that tree possesses 2 main effects. It increases the hardness of the carapace and boosts resistance. Banbo signals with his antennas to communicate through aromatic signals with flamestripes. The latter, very pleased with Banbo's reaction, recalls that the Lord of the Iron Sword gave it to him, providing only a single seed. Rare plant species are difficult to find, but once discovered, their seeds can be collected over the long term, making them less scarce. As long as the Lord of the Iron Sword is not a fool, he will surely store many seeds of the crimson thorn tree. Banbo, using his antennas, sends a bold message and also requests some seeds. Flamestripes patiently explains that these seeds were obtained through an exchange with the Lord of the Crimson Thorn, who traded 10 seeds of the iron leaf tree for 1 seed of the crimson thorn tree. This exchange produced only 10 seeds in total, which belonged to the novice, intermediate, and senior warriors of the Rat clan, representing not only progress in their genetic evolution but also titles symbolizing power and authority. Banbo begins to become interested in these 2 figures, the Lord of the Iron Sword and the Lord of the Crimson Thorn. Flamestripes, meanwhile, is concerned, initially just wanting to showcase himself to a youth and assert his authority as an elder. Therefore, he decides to try to ask the Lord of the Iron Sword directly. He raises his antennas and remains still and silent, but Banbo detects an energy fluctuation coming from those antennas. He recognizes this energy as familiar, electromagnetic waves. Roaches can develop long-distance wireless communication abilities, and Flamestripes uses these waves to transmit messages. Banbo secretly remains surprised at the extent of this capability. After sending the message, Flamestripes weakly collapses, resting for a long time before standing up again. However, an inexplicable happiness appears. A new warrior emerges from that communication within his territory. The elders will surely feel envy, and both the Ancient of the Grey Jade and the Mountain Lord will be delighted. The next day, after a good meal, Banbo and the other insect creature begin their journey. The approaching peak belongs to Windchime's territory, who is 2 years older than Banbo and possesses 2 life cypress seeds that started bearing fruit this year. Windchime is not known for its intelligence. It even chose a wind seed as a seed of life, which is quite perplexing. Windchime's seed was surely a gift from the iron leaf trees on the mountain, distributed by the Iron Sword Lord to other clan warriors. Banbo cannot help but worry. If there are only those 10 crimson thorn tree seeds, this journey might be in vain. Just then, a roach slowly emerges from its nest, looking at Flamestripes and then turning its attention to Banbo. The insect cautiously approaches and asks, "Are you sure that seed was born in your territory? How can it be so black and so ugly?" The wind chime turns out to be quite rude and not at all delicate. "Certainly, it was born in my territory. I saw it for the first time last winter. It's different, very clever. Oh yes, it has a name, Banbo." "Banbo?" the wind chime thinks. You named it, the wind chime suggests. Ugly. Flame Stripes, feeling disgusted, comments that she named it herself. The wind chime responds, then it was born in your territory as tasteless as you. Flame Stripes is left speechless, her mouth open in surprise. If you have nothing more to say, you can leave, orders the wind chime, beginning to issue an eviction. Flame Stripes retorts, I'm going to take Banbo to meet the Iron Sword Lord. Also, I came to visit you, old man. The wind chime frowns. Didn't we meet recently? You can go now. Flame Stripes shoots it a defiant look. You should give it a gift, she advises. I knew you deliberately brought cloud cypress seeds to fool me. The wind chime takes refuge in its nest, then quickly emerges, moving a paw. Right in front of Banbo, a solar-drying cypress seed, brown in color, falls. Flame Stripes, worried, watches as the seed mysteriously falls directly in front of Banbo. Only Flame Stripes expresses her discontent. Whime. This little one eats a lot, can swallow a whole raspberry in one bite. The wind chime vibrates its wings, emitting angry, threatening sounds. Banbo, let's go. Remember that the wind chime is stingy. Flame Stripes, energetic, flaps her wings rapidly. Both insects land in a mountain clearing, where they catch a wild rabbit and place it in front of Banbo. Then, they peel the cloud cypress seed, revealing 5 sturdy seeds that contain a powerful aura of strength. Be careful, Flame Stripes warns. The longer the seed's life cycle, the more powerful the strength it contains. You are still young, and perhaps you cannot handle it yet. Flame Stripes snuggles close, alerting with words. Banbo knows that cloud cypress seeds are difficult to digest. First, it eats meat to boost its nutrition and energy, then carefully takes a seed to bite. The medicinal effect of the cloud cypress is rapid and intense. The energy of strength courses through his body, making his heart beat strongly and blood flow faster. Banbo's 6 legs become stiff, and his wings tremble uncontrollably. After a long while, he recovers. He is completely exhausted, with weak legs, lying on the ground. Banbo, you're much worse than I am, comments Flame Stripes. After my first cloud cypress seed, I could still walk. Flame Stripes has personal experience with this and, instead of worrying, he mocks and boasts. Don't despair, eat slowly. Then we'll go to Amethyst's territory. Have you seen my grape seed's life tissue plant? That seed was a gift from Amethyst, who is very hospitable. He likes visitors in his territory and is very generous. The wind chime, who is also stingy, knows that many warriors of the Crimson Cockroach clan inhabit these mountains. Flame Stripes surely knows them all. It seems he plans to make successive visits to these warriors in search of greeting gifts. No wonder the genetic memory states that newborn warriors, protected by elders, can grow quickly into higher ranks. After all, cockroaches also uphold the tradition that elders present gifts to the young. Windchime was stingy and only gave a cloud cypress seed. However, a single cloud cypress seed has an effect equivalent to 3 raspberry fruits. In contrast, Amethyst was very generous. How many gifts would he give? Banbo knew it was time to set out to visit the Iron Sword Lord, and along the way, he wanted to pass by Amethyst's residence. He represents the most solid hope for the young to aspire to become the next mountain lord after the Iron Sword Lord. Amethyst possessed great wealth and abundant generosity, and he would surely give many gifts. Did you understand? Just as Banbo expected. After receiving the cloud cypress seeds, the flames of Flame Stripes guided him to the next clan authority. During several days of interaction, Banbo reached an important conclusion. In roach culture, occupying the top of a mountain generally equates to becoming the mountain's lord. Moreover, he gained a clearer understanding of the roach's growth. Those who can ascend to that rank are extremely few, as their development largely depends on life seeds. Novice warriors, under the tutelage of elders, can become senior warriors in less than a year, capable of surviving independently in the jungle. The elder warriors of the Crimson Roach clan only live between 40 and 50 years, and many of them, due to poor decisions in their seat of life, lack of self-discipline, or slow growth, lose their vigorous youth, age, and become incapable of further evolution, remaining as elder warriors for life. The amethyst territory is located on a modest, slightly raised hill in the mountains, with its nest dug into the hillside. What surprises Bambo is that there grow 7 cloud cypress trees, each with impressive vitality and height that far exceeds the typical mountain cypresses, with branches glowing with reddish and brown halos, creating a bright and dazzling spectacle. The amethyst property hosts a total of 21 dispersed seed of life, each in full growth, indicating that its development will be continuous and obstacle-free. Flame Stripes commented that Bambo was very lucky. Is that little warrior who was born on your territory? Why black? As Flame Stripes described, the amethyst is hospitable, and its aura of strength and vitality fluctuates intensely, conveying a true pressure to Bambo. Flame Stripes, also an elder warrior, seems uncomfortable in front of the amethyst. He doesn't know why, but that black warrior displayed exceptional qualities from a very young age. From an early age, he was able to withstand icy temperatures and remain active in winter. He loved to sunbathe and was energetic, enjoying crawling everywhere. The surprise from the amethyst was remarkable. Truly, he was someone extraordinary. Have you found other black members in your tribe? Bambo asked. No, they responded. But perhaps our Crimson Roach clan will give rise to a new branch within your territory. In the consciousness of the roach, forming new branches in the tribe symbolizes prosperity and strength. Bambo managed to survive almost a year alone in the jungle, an exceptional achievement that earned him the favor of the true god of nature. The kind-hearted amethyst headed back to his nest and soon emerged again, dragging a small pumpkin-shaped silk bag in vivid colors. Bambo, who had been obediently crouched beside the striped flames, watched him with wide-open eyes. The bag exuded a powerful aura, probably considered a simple force artifact. Amethyst leaned forward and poured a small amount of cloud cypress seeds before the striped flames. For the striped flames to ascend to senior warrior, they needed forceful nourishment. This is my gift to you, said Amethyst, directing the bag toward Bambo, who saw how the cloud cypress seeds accumulated before him. And you, little one, will soon become a senior warrior. The Iron Sword Mountains need more defenders. Bambo politely expressed his gratitude. Unlike Bambo's calmness and courtesy, the striped flames seemed to be somewhat out of control, dancing joyfully, and Ten wagged his legs excitedly, still unsatisfied and with greedy eyes on Amethyst's bag, not hiding his envy in the slightest. He was right. Amethyst was not only wealthy but also generous, giving Bambo a total of 20 cloud cypress seeds. Amethyst watched Bambo with interest, smiling kindly, with a sense of cunning. Bambo, count again. Continue. Clearly state how many cloud cypress seeds are here. Thoughtfully, Bambo responded through his psychic power. 82. The Lord of the Iron Sword wants you to accompany him to meet him. We must leave. Bambo nodded with his antennae. The previous conversation, where Flame Stripes pretended to visit the Lord of the Iron Sword, was just a ploy. This visit seemed genuine. After flying over only about 10 peaks, Flame Stripes landed again. Bambo, this is Gree Jade territory, said Flame Stripes. I was born in Gree Jade territory. Gree Jade is my ancestor. You were born in my territory. I am your elder. So, Gree Jade is the elder of your ancestor. You must respect him. Do you understand? The clearing in front of the nest entrance was overgrown with weeds, immediately conveying a sense of abandonment and desolation. On the mountain, only 5 life seeds lay, sickly and weak. Alarmed by a movement, a senior warrior about 400 millimeters long crawled out of the nest. His color and movement were dull. Each action exuded an air of declining old age. Flame Stripes, finally you dare to visit me, said Gree Jade, whose psychic strength also reflected decreasing fragility. The beetle's perception was sharp. Bambo also sensed in him a breath of cold death lingering in the environment. Flame Stripes scratched his head clumsily. I have been too busy lately, searching for seeds that nature itself has given me. When I was young, I was also enthusiastic and passionate, like all of you, said Gree Jade. But the facts show that only a few lucky ones truly receive the favor of the god of nature. Flame Stripes trusted in this. Then I am sure, I will also be one of those lucky ones, he declared with determination. Grey Jade ended the conversation laughing while looking at Banbo. The little one visited Amethyst. It seems he did well, he said. Banbo carried a snake leather sack filled with cloud cypress seeds. Grey Jade extended a paw, pointing to the plants of life seeds. Little one, those are my cloud cypress life seeds. Their fruits ripened a long time ago. Go pick them yourself, and fill that little sack. Cypress seeds in the clouds do not fall immediately after ripening. They remain hanging from the trees, enduring wind and sun, slowly drying in their own process before falling spontaneously. Banbo observes this scene with satisfaction. For an old man, his dealings with him feel different. He considers him part of the family from the very beginning. He allows him to gather himself and shows him a generosity that even surpasses that of Amethyst. Banbo's intention is to follow in Flamestripe's footsteps, visiting each of the elders of the Iron Sword Mountains one by one. His expectations are modest. He only aims to fill his snake skin bag with various gifts. But will they achieve their goal even in Grey Jades? Without ceremony, Banbo quickly approaches the cypress trees in the clouds and pulls on the bag. Suddenly, Flamestripe stops him with a firm voice. Night is approaching, and they cannot delay the Lord of the Iron Sword. It's time to depart. Banbo halts, sending some confusing messages inwardly. Is he merely trying to take advantage of others? Reluctantly, he leaves the scene, carrying the snake skin bag. Before leaving, he bids farewell to Grey Jade with a psychic message. Goodbye. The response arrives with instant joy. How clever he is. In fact, he has already learned to communicate through psychic power. Flamestripes, I can be proud of both of them. During the journey, Flamestripes remains unusually silent for a long time. Then, suddenly, he speaks with deep sadness. Banbo, did you notice? Grey Jade has aged. Banbo responds calmly, pondering why Grey Jade only has 5 life seed plants. Something very unfortunate happened in his youth. A wolf hunter from the forest invaded his territory, trying to steal his food by force. Although the Lord of the Iron Sword arrived in time and killed the wolf, almost all of Grey Jade's life seed plants were destroyed, and his life seeds were lost. Since then, his strength has stagnated at the 3rd star level. Flamestripes, with some difficulty, adds, The Lord of the Iron Sword told me that Grey Jade's lifespan will not be long, as it depends entirely on the force food generated by those 5 remaining life seed plants. If I consume that food, I accelerate his aging and his death. Upon hearing this, Banbo also feels an inexplicable sadness. The Lord of the Iron Sword was the first to establish a tribe in these mountains, justly occupying the highest summit, known as the Iron Sword Peak. When Flamestripes lands, a small crimson beetle, slightly larger than Banbo, approaches with curiosity. He closely observes the snake skin bag that Banbo carries. Flamestripes introduces Ink Mulberry, saying, This is Banbo, a warrior born this year. The beetle praises him. Banbo is very handsome. He is intelligent and brave. Ink Mulberry is clever. Flamestripes adds, Banbo, this is Ink Mulberry, who is already a 7th instar warrior. You should also strive to grow. After visiting another territory, Banbo respectfully conveys his psychic messages. Ink Mulberry, impressed, exclaims, Wow! Banbo is incredible, more impressive than I am. Despite his youth, he already masters telepathic communication. He truly is a beetle seeking help. Internally, Banbo complains with resignation. The Mountain Lord has been waiting for a long time under the trees with iron-edged leaves. This elderly veteran of advanced age has spent a whole lifetime in this land. It is said that his number of life seeds exceeds 30, and thanks to the abundant strength at the summit, each seed has grown enormous, forming a dense forest larger than the surrounding common plants. In front of him, even Flamestripe feels uncomfortable, with his breathing quickening. Banbo and Ink Mulberry observe from a distance, too afraid to approach. Is this perhaps the warrior born in your territory? Flamestripe asks, pointing to the small one with the black shell. The mountain lord nods seriously. Yes, his name is Banbo, he replies, and he bears a seed bestowed by a god. Since I returned, I've heard that he is a little lucky, favored by the true god of nature. For over a century, I have searched the jungle for seeds with that blessing, without success. Flamestripe's excitement is mixed. He feels proud that Banbo was born in his land, but also worried about not having found a divine seed yet. When recounting Banbo's seed story, Flamestripe hopes to exchange it for a seed from a crimson thorn tree and another from an iron-edged tree, to compensate for the loss. The mountain lord, of imposing size, states that the iron-edged trees are under his control, and he can have as many as he desires. The seeds of the crimson thorn tree, which he previously exchanged with the Lord of the Red Thorns, have already been distributed between them. Flamestripe looks somewhat nervous. Would it be possible, Lord of the Mountain, to make another exchange with the Lord of the Red Thorns? He asks hopefully. The mountain lord does not respond immediately, tilting his head to carefully examine Banbo. The difference in the color of his shell, entirely different from that of the cockroach species of his tribe, catches his attention. Have you discovered any exceptional qualities in him? He asks. Flamestripe considers carefully. Banbo can communicate telepathically at his 4th instar. Even though he is still a junior warrior, he replies. The mountain lord reflects that this is a skill typical of his tribe, the black and white loto cockroaches, but he also does not carry their scent. It is likely a primitive evolution, the result of a genetic mutation without a concept of lineage. In this case, natural evolution is simply an observed genetic change without understanding its fundamental cause, which leads them to attribute the phenomenon to the will of the god of true nature. Have you found any similar species in your territory? He asks. Flamestripe waves his antennae. I have examined carefully, and I haven't found any. He replies. Therefore, the only explanation is that it is an individual anomaly. The mountain lord shows a slight disappointment. Then he asks, have you discovered any other special qualities in Banbo? After a brief discussion, he gains some understanding of him. The Brocade Mountains cannot be without guardian warriors, declared the elder. The tribe of black and white lotus cockroaches has repeatedly insisted. Lord of the Red Thorns, we cannot be free of other warriors. They demand we send 3 warriors to gradually restore control over the Brocade Mountains, starting from scratch. Banbo would be an excellent choice. The color and abilities of Carrope resemble those of the tribe of black and white lotus cockroaches, which possess a seed granted by the gods. Their long, well-developed legs make them naturally suited for combat. When grown, they have enough strength to face those despicable creatures. The Brocade Mountain blazes with anxious-looking streaks of flame. The Iron Sword Lord is a dominant presence, although there are still evident weaknesses. Banbo remains very weak and could be devoured by beasts. The tragedy of Grey Jade might repeat itself with him, but it will not because I am fully prepared for it. I will organize patrols of Cypress Fong and others, in shifts, to ensure Banbo's safe growth until he reaches the rank of senior warrior. Flamestripe vigorously waves his antennae, repeating, No, Banbo cannot go. The Iron Sword Lord trusts in Banbo's potential and knows that he must undergo a process of tempering. Because Banbo will not be alone. Future warriors will be born in the Iron Sword Mountains. I also plan to send them to the Brocade Mountains. Flamestripe hesitates and wavers, as Grey Jade is old and surely does not want Banbo to face dangerous places. The Sword Lord has already asked Grey Jade to come discuss Banbo's future, holding the highest authority in the decision. The conversation between the Sword Lord and Flamestripe continues, but Banbo only partially grasps it. This planet holds within it 2 abundant forces. Cockroaches can evolve into powerful beings, just like other insects. Many large animals, especially strong individuals, easily evolve into ferocious fighters. Once in battle, these animals gain a strength that can rival that of warrior insects. Animals and insects are natural enemies. Intelligent animals, aware that they cannot defeat the warrior insects, change their strategy by setting ambushes and destroying the seed plants that support life. The evolution of the warrior insects heavily depends on these seeds. Losing the seeds means losing the potential to continue evolving. To prevent such losses, the Sword Lord organizes a monthly hunt. All the warriors of the Crimson Cockroach clan in the mountains mobilize together, clearing out and surrounding the large beasts in the Brocade Mountains jungle. What dangers lurk in this jungle territory? What caused the complete extermination of the ancient mountain lord and many warriors? Bambo still does not know. Although the Sword Lord does not say it openly, Bambo can sense it. He does not like the black appearance of the Sword Lord. His color and abilities, similar to those of the Lotus Black and White Cockroach tribe with divine seeds, cause him rejection, and this seems to be one of the main reasons for urgently sending him to the Brocade Mountains. The Iron Sword Lord takes advantage of the situation, pushing Bambo forward. Flames Tripe is furious and frustrated, but he knows that the authority of the Sword Lord is supreme throughout the region. He cannot oppose his orders. A huge cockroach approaches, oscillating in the air toward the summit, makes a turn, and finally lands next to Flames Tripe. It is Grey Jade. Grey Jade was born in the territory of the Iron Sword Lord. Flames Tripe was raised in the same area. Bambo, on the other hand, comes from Flamestripe's territory. Regarding Bambo's future, both Grey Jade and Flamestripe have more interest and decision-making power. Grey Jade asks, "Iron Sword Lord, are there important matters that I should discuss with you?" Before he responds, Flamestripe speaks for him. The Iron Sword Lord plans to send Bambo to the Brocade Mountains. Grey Jade considers this proposal for a few seconds, finding it very reasonable. To the south of the Brocade River lies the land of the Lotus Federation. Bambo's shell coloration facilitates communication with the white and black Lotus Worm tribe. When the Golden Radiance Lord settled in the Brocade Mountains, there were numerous conflicts with this tribe, especially when Bambo was in that area. However, the situation should improve over time. The Iron Sword Lord nods, confirming the proposal. "Exactly, I think the same." Flamestripe shows his anger, affirming that the Brocade Mountains are extremely dangerous. "Do you want me to repeat the tragedy experienced by yourself, Grey Jade?" he suggests. Jade Gree suggests focusing efforts on a major cleanse of the forests around the Dawn Bamboo Peak to reduce the risk. The Iron Sword Lord also shares this opinion. Over the past 2 years, there has been no effective leadership among the warriors in the Brocade Mountains. Beasts have proliferated uncontrollably, and if nothing is done, the Iron Mountains will soon descend into chaos. Flamestripes is still an immature creature. Jade Gree, given your vast experience on the continent and your wisdom, one of the few on the Iron Spear Mountain, I hope you can teach Bambo about hunting and cultivation. Jade Gree nods and answers Flamestripes. "I think so. Take Bambo to visit the other elders on the mountains, without causing any trouble. Tomorrow, come to my territory." With indifference, Flamestripes responds and calls Bambo. "Bambo, come here. First, I will take you to meet the other 4 elders of the Iron Spear Peak. In that area live the senior warriors of the Crimson Worm clan: Cypress Fong, Peach Cloud, Cypress Tiger, and Dawn Bamboo. Each manages their territory with prosperity comparable to that of the Emerald. Malverbank Inc. can become an elite warrior in 2 or 3 years, although by then Jade Gree will probably have already passed away from old age. Besides Jade Gree, the mountain hosts several other senior warriors who will soon reach that stage as well. It is foreseeable that, in the short term, the number of warriors on the Iron Spear Mountain will not undergo significant changes. Bambo shows little interest in the shifting politics of these mountains. His only real concern is understanding how dangerous the Brocade Mountains are.